That's so my point. In the very deep past, our ancestors did something that no other species had ever done before. It wasn't about building cities, mastering fire, or even making the first stone tools. It was something far more profound, a quiet revolution that happened inside their minds. This was a fundamental change in how they thought, how they acted, and how they connected with each other. Immagine Italiano. One moment, humans were just another animal on the savannah, surviving day to day, driven purely by instinct and immediate needs. The next, they began making choices that went far beyond just getting through the day. These were choices that would echo through millennia, shaping the very future of our species. What was that pivotal moment? It wasn't recorded, it wasn't celebrated, and it certainly wasn't understood at the time. It was an invisible shift, a new current in the river of human consciousness. Perhaps it was a single, seemingly small act. Picture a clan facing a brutal famine. Instead of hoarding the last scraps of food, one individual decides to share, or maybe, during a hunt, someone risks their own life to protect a weaker member of the group. It could have been a leader making a bold, terrifying decision that others were too afraid to consider, a decision that led the group to a new, safer territory. Whatever it was, that single act ignited the spark of something new. Large-scale cooperation, genuine empathy, and long-term strategy. These were the invisible forces that allowed humanity to not just survive, but to thrive where other, stronger species failed. From this turning point, the very foundations of society, leadership, and culture began to form. Humans started to think beyond the next meal. They learned to plan for the future, to work together as a cohesive unit, and to overcome disasters that would have easily wiped out less adaptable creatures. This wasn't just about outsmarting predators, it was about outsmarting extinction itself. This shift from individual survival to collective success is the secret to our entire story. It's what allowed us to spread across the globe, adapt to every environment, and eventually build the complex world we live in today. But how did this happen? What were the environmental pressures or the neurological changes that triggered this leap? Was it a gradual evolution over thousands of years? Or was there a specific catalyst that accelerated the process? In this video, we're going to dive deep into one of the greatest mysteries of our existence. We'll explore the science, the theories, and the tantalizing clues left behind in fossils and ancient artifacts. We will try to reconstruct that incredible moment humans changed. We'll ask why it happened, what it might have looked like, and how this newfound ability for strategic cooperation became the ultimate key to our survival and the dawn of civilization. Think about it. Every law, every piece of art, every scientific discovery, and every act of kindness can trace its origins back to this fundamental change in our ancestors. They stopped being just animals and started becoming human. It's a story of how we learned to trust each other, to rely on one another, and to build a future together. This transformation is not just a chapter in our history. It is the very essence of what makes us who we are. It's the reason you and I are here today, able to ponder these very questions. So join us as we journey back in time to uncover the greatest pivot in history, the moment humans became human. It's a story more dramatic and more important than any other, because it's the story of us. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our exploration into this incredible mystery. The first topic is life before change. Before history was written, before cities rose from the dust, what was life like for our ancestors? Imagine a world governed not by laws or kings, but by the raw, untamed forces of nature. This was the dawn of humanity, a time when every sunrise brought a new battle for survival. Life was a relentless cycle of instinct. Ungegnawed predators stalked the shadows, and the environment itself was an unforgiving adversary. Humans roamed in small nomadic tribes, rarely larger than a few dozen people. Their world was immediate, their senses razor-sharp, honed by generations of living on the edge. They had basic tools, chipped from stone and bone, but these offered little comfort against the vast wilderness. Life was brutally short, fragile, and utterly unpredictable. Think about your daily routine. Now, strip it all away. There were no guaranteed meals. Food was a constant pursuit, a dangerous game of chance. A successful hunt might feed the group for a day, but a failed one meant starvation. Water sources could vanish with a change in season, and a sudden storm could wipe out an entire community in a single night. There was no safety net, no long-term security. In this world, survival depended on individual strength, speed, and alertness. The fastest runner, the keenest eye, the strongest arm, these were the traits that mattered most. Trust was a luxury few could afford. Cooperation was minimal, not out of cruelty, but out of grim practicality. Every action was a calculation of survival. Sharing your food might mean you wouldn't have enough for yourself tomorrow. Helping someone who was injured could slow you down, making you vulnerable. It was a harsh calculus, where instinct screamed self-preservation above all else. Every decision was immediate, a reaction to the present moment. Is that a predator in the tall grass? Is that fruit safe to eat? Where can we find shelter before nightfall? There was no time for long-term planning. No room for abstract thought. Life was reactive, not proactive. Our ancestors weren't building for the future. They were simply trying to live to see the next day. This constant struggle, this razor-edge existence, shaped human behavior for tens of thousands of years. Knowledge was as fragile as life itself. Imagine a skilled hunter, someone who knew the secret paths of animals or which plants could heal. If that person fell to a predator or a sudden illness, all that precious knowledge died with them. There were no books, no schools, no way to preserve wisdom beyond what could be passed from one person to another. Each generation had to relearn the lessons of survival, often through bitter and fatal experience. Some groups, the most adaptable, might have developed rudimentary hunting strategies or learned to store a small amount of seasonal food. But for most, life was lived day to day, meal to meal. This primal existence, dominated by instinct, seems so distant from our world today. We live in complex societies built on cooperation, trust, and shared knowledge. But deep within our DNA, the echoes of that ancient struggle remained. The fight-or-flight response, the pull of the fear of the unknown, these are all legacies of that time. Our ancestors were not savages. They were survivors, navigating a world of constant threat with the only tools they had, their bodies and their instincts. But humanity was not destined to remain in this state forever. Something had to change. The relentless cycle of individual survival had to be broken. And it would be not by a stronger hunter or a faster runner, but by a revolutionary idea, a single, pivotal decision made by someone who dared to act against every instinct screaming in their mind. Someone who chose to trust, to cooperate, to think beyond their own immediate survival, and consider the well-being of the group. This first act of true cooperation, of sacrificing personal gain for the collective, was the spark that would ignite a new kind of humanity. It was a quiet revolution, a subtle shift in thinking that would have monumental consequences. It was a moment we began to move from being just another animal, guided by instinct, to becoming the social, intelligent, and empathetic beings we are today. This was the beginning of our story, the first step on the long road to civilization. The seed of community, empathy, and progress had been planted, waiting to grow in the harsh soil of the prehistoric world. What was that first decision? Who was the first person to share without expecting an immediate return? We may never know for sure, but we can explore the possibilities. Imagine a hunter, instead of consuming his kill alone, deciding to bring it back to the tribe, feeding the young, the old, and the weak. Imagine someone discovering that planting a seed, instead of eating it, could yield 100 more in the future. These acts would have seemed foolish, a violation of the primary rule of survival, but they held the key to a different kind of strength. The strength of a community. When our ancestors began to trust each other, they unlocked a power far greater than any individual could possess. They could hunt larger prey, defend against more formidable predators, and care for their sick and injured, allowing precious knowledge to survive and accumulate. This was the true turning point. It wasn't a new tool or a new weapon. It was a new way of thinking. It was the birth of society. And from that moment on, the destiny of humanity was forever changed. If you're fascinated by the deep history of humanity and the moments that shaped us, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We've got a lot more to explore. The second topic is the first bold act. Have you ever wondered what makes us human? Is it our big brains, our tools, or our languages? What if I told you the true beginning of humanity wasn't a grand invention, but a single, quiet, and incredibly bold act? Picture this. A small group of our ancient ancestors, huddled together, facing a brutal famine. The air is thick with desperation. Every scrap of food is precious. The law of the wild, etched into millions of years of evolution, screams one thing: survival of the fittest. Take what you can, protect yourself, and think only of your own hunger. It's a simple, brutal equation. But then, something impossible happens. One individual, gaunt and weakened just like the rest, holds a small piece of food. Instead of eating it, they look at another, someone weaker, perhaps a child or an elder, and they share it. This single gesture, This tiny act of giving is a revolution. It defies every instinct for survival. It's a gamble against nature itself. Why would anyone do that? Why give up a guaranteed mouthful for themselves, for the uncertain survival of another? This wasn't just about charity. It was the birth of a radical new strategy. The person who shared their food, consciously or not, was making a bet. A bet that the survival of the group was more important than their own immediate survival. They understood, in a profound way, that their own strength was limited, but the strength of a trusting, cooperating group that could be limitless. This act wasn't just a transaction of food, it was a transaction of trust. The person who received the food now owed a debt, not of resources, but of loyalty. They were now part of a bond. Imagine the ripple effect. The person who was helped survives a day. The next day, maybe they are the one who finds a new food source or helps fend off a predator. The initial sacrifice is repaid, not directly, but to the collective. Others in the group witness this. They see that sharing doesn't lead to weakness, but to a stronger, more resilient unit. The act is remembered. It's talked about around the fire. It becomes a story, a lesson. A new social rule starts to form in their minds. Helping each other works. This is a fundamental shift in thinking. Before this moment, survival was a solo mission, you versus the world. But now, it becomes a team sport. The tribe starts to realize that their greatest asset isn't the sharpest spear or the strongest hunter. It's each other. It's the web of trust and reciprocity they are building, one small act at a time. The person who risked themselves to protect another from a predator wasn't just saving a life. They were demonstrating that every member of the group was valuable. They were worth protecting. This idea is the bedrock of everything we call society. Think about it. When we teach our children to share their toys, we are echoing that first ancient act of generosity. When a soldier risks their life for their comrades, they are channeling that same primal instinct for collective protection. These aren't just learned behaviors. They are the echoes of a survival strategy that proved to be more powerful than claws, fangs, or brute strength. It's the strategy of us. Over generations, these bold acts stopped being exceptions and started becoming the norm. They evolved into customs, traditions, and eventually, moral codes. The first unwritten laws of humanity weren't about punishing wrongdoing. They were about encouraging right. Share what you have. Protect the vulnerable. Teach the young. Support the weak. These weren't divine commandments handed down from the heavens. They were practical guidelines for survival, forged in the crucible of hardship. This was the moment we truly became human, not when we first walked upright or chipped a piece of flint into a tool, but when we first looked at a fellow being in need and chose connection over competition. We began to think beyond our own stomachs, beyond our own safety, and started to see ourselves as part of something larger. A family, a tribe, a species. This shift from me to we unlocked our potential. Cooperation allowed us to hunt massive animals that no single individual could take down. It allowed us to build shelters that could withstand the elements. It allowed us to care for the sick and injured, preserving valuable knowledge and experience within the group. It allowed us to raise our uniquely helpless children over many years, passing down complex skills and culture from one generation to the next. Everything that defines human achievement, our cities, our art, our science is built upon this foundation of collective action. So, the next time you feel overwhelmed by the selfishness you see in the world, remember that story? Remember that deep within our DNA, deeper than our instinct for self-preservation, is an even more powerful instinct for cooperation. That first bold act wasn't an anomaly. It was our destiny. It was the moment we chose to become human by choosing to help one another. It's the best part of who we are. The third topic is how cooperation emerged. Have you ever wondered what the single most important survival skill for early humans was? It wasn't brute strength, sharp claws, or lightning speed. It was something far more profound. Something that would set the stage for everything that followed. Cooperation. Imagine the world our ancestors inhabited. It was a place of immense danger and uncertainty. Survival was a daily battle. In this harsh reality, going it alone was a death sentence. But then, something incredible happened. A single, bold act of sharing. A moment of protection offered to another. In that instant, a powerful blueprint for survival was born. A blueprint that didn't rely on the strength of one, but on the combined power of many. This wasn't some grand philosophical awakening. It was born from pure, practical necessity. Think about it. How do you hunt a massive, powerful mammoth? Not by yourself. You need a team. One group to create a diversion, another to set a trap, and a third to deliver the final blow. It was a coordinated dance of survival. How do you ensure the tribe makes it through a brutal winter when food is scarce? You share, the hunters share their kill, the gatherers share their bounty. This wasn't charity, it was a strategic investment in the group's collective energy and future. Cooperation started with these small, logical steps. While some members of the tribe ventured out to hunt, others would stand guard, watching for predators. Some would be tasked with crafting the essential tools needed for the hunt, while others focused on gathering edible plants and berries. And crucially, some would stay behind to protect the most vulnerable, the children and the elderly. Each person had a role, a purpose that contributed to the whole. Every single one of these acts, no matter how small, was a brick in the foundation of trust. And with every successful hunt, with every shared meal, that foundation grew stronger. The group's odds of survival increased exponentially with each cooperative effort. This wasn't about being nice in the modern sense. It was a brutally effective strategy. The tribes that mastered the art of working together were the ones who thrived. They could take down larger, more nutritious prey. They could successfully defend their territory against rival groups or predators. They could build better shelters and navigate treacherous landscapes. And when disaster struck, a sudden flood, a prolonged drought, a devastating fire, cooperative groups had the resilience to pull through, supporting each other until conditions improved. Conversely, the groups that failed to cooperate, the ones where selfishness and distrust festered, were quickly weeded out by natural selection. They fell victim to starvation, were picked off by predators one by one, or simply couldn't withstand the relentless pressures of their environment. Cooperation wasn't just a good idea, it became the most critical survival skill of all, more valuable than any physical advantage. Over countless generations, this constant feedback loop began to shape our very nature. Cooperation wasn't just a strategy anymore. It started to become ingrained in our social DNA. We evolved to be social creatures. Trust, reciprocity, and fairness became the invisible threads weaving the fabric of early human society. We developed a remarkable ability to read each other's intentions, to anticipate needs, and to communicate complex plans. We learned to think not just as I, but as we. These weren't just random acts of kindness. They were the very building blocks of community, the foundation upon which all future civilizations would be built. Small bands of cooperating individuals could achieve what no lone genius ever could. They could endure, adapt, and eventually dominate the planet. This new way of living also sparked the first glimmers of leadership, but it wasn't the kind of leadership we might imagine, based on dominance or force. In these early societies, leadership was earned, not taken. Who became the leader? It was the person who consistently demonstrated wisdom, the one who knew the best hunting grounds, who could predict the changing seasons, or who could mediate disputes fairly. It was the individual who showed bravery, not for a personal glory, but for the protection of the group. The hunter who took the biggest risk, the guard who stood their post without flinching. Respect and influence flowed naturally to those who proved they had the group's best interests at heart. This form of leadership, rooted in trust and proven competence, brought a new level of order and stability to the group, solidifying the social structure and paving the way for the increasingly complex societies that were to come. From the first shared piece of fruit to the coordinated hunt of a giant beast, the story of human evolution is inextricably linked to the story of cooperation. It's a powerful reminder that our greatest strength has never been our individual prowess, but our ability to come together, to trust one another, and to work towards a common goal. This ancient impulse to connect and collaborate is still within us today. It's what allows us to build cities, create art, and explore the stars. It's the legacy of our earliest ancestors, a testament to the simple but profound truth that we are, and always have been, stronger together. The fourth topic is the power of shared knowledge. Have you ever wondered what truly set early humans apart? It wasn't just bigger brains or sharper tools. It was something far more powerful, a secret weapon that changed the course of our history. The real game changer was the power of shared knowledge. Imagine a world where every single thing you learn dies with you. Every mistake, every discovery, every life-saving trick gone. That was the reality for countless species. But our ancestors stumbled upon a revolutionary idea. What one person learns can benefit everyone. Think about it. Cooperation was a great first step. Hunting in a group is better than hunting alone. But what happens when the best hunter in the group is gone? Does all that skill and experience vanish? Not for early humans. They realized that knowledge about hunting techniques, which plants were safe to eat, and which predators to avoid, was a resource too valuable to lose. It could be passed down, This simple concept created a massive advantage. The groups that thrived weren't just the strongest. They were the smartest. Collectively, they were the ones who remembered. They remembered which riverbeds were dry in the summer, where the best berries grew in the fall, and how to read the tracks of a mammoth. This wasn't just individual memory, it was a shared, communal memory. Observation became a survival skill in itself. Our ancestors learned not just from their own trial and error, but from the stories, the warnings, and the teachings of others. You didn't have to get bitten by a venomous snake to know it was dangerous. Someone could tell you. This collective learning process was like an ancient internet, a network of minds, all contributing to a shared database of survival. And this knowledge wasn't static, it was cumulative. It grew with every passing generation. One generation figured out how to sharpen a rock. The next learned how to attach that rock to a stick, creating a spear. The generation after that refined the spear's design, making it more aerodynamic and deadly. Every new discovery was a building block, a piece of a puzzle that made the entire group more resilient, more efficient, and more dominant. To make this all work, communication had to evolve. It started with simple sounds, gestures, and symbolic actions. A grunt to me and danger, a pointed finger to me and look. They're a reenactment of a successful hunt to teach a technique. These were the first steps toward language, all driven by the need to teach, to warn, and to coordinate. Knowledge was no longer trapped inside one person's head. It was a shared resource, the very backbone of the first communities. When you combine this shared knowledge with cooperation, you get something incredible. Survival stops being a purely instinctive, reactive process. It becomes strategic. It becomes predictive. Instead of just running from a predator when you see it, you can now anticipate where it might be. You can set traps. You can plan your movements to avoid it entirely. This power of shared knowledge even started to shape the social fabric of these early groups. Who became the leaders? It wasn't always the strongest hunter. Often, it was the wisest elder, the one who held the most knowledge, the one who could teach the younger generation the old stories and the proven survival tricks. Knowledge became a form of social currency. Those who understood more, taught more, and shared more naturally earned respect and influence. This new strategic approach allowed for long-term planning. Groups could store food for the winter, plan hunts that lasted for weeks, and navigate vast, dangerous territories that would have been impossible for smaller, less organized tribes. They were no longer just reacting to the world around them. They were actively shaping their own destiny. This fundamental shift from reactive to proactive survival is one of the most important moments in human history. It's the moment we stopped just surviving and started thriving. It's the moment we began to anticipate problems, plan solutions together, and act with foresight. This unique ability, this powerful combination of cooperation and shared knowledge, laid the groundwork for everything that followed. Complex societies, technological innovation, and eventually, the rise of civilization itself. So, the next time you learn something new, remember its ancient roots. The simple act of sharing what you know is part of a legacy that stretches back hundreds of thousands of years. It is the superpower that took a fragile species on the African savanna and set it on a path to change the world. The fifth topic is the turning point for humanity. Picture this: a vast, untamed world. Small groups of early humans, scattered and vulnerable, facing a daily battle for survival. They had tools, they had fire, but something more profound was about to change their destiny forever. This wasn't a single discovery or a sudden event. It was a quiet revolution, happening inside their minds, a shift from mere instinct to conscious, collective action. This was humanity's turning point. Before this shift, life was a constant scramble. Find food, avoid predators, seek shelter. It was a reactive existence, driven by immediate needs. But then, a new pattern began to emerge. Instead of one person hunting alone, a group learned to coordinate, bringing down prey far too large for any single individual. Instead of devouring a kill on the spot, they learned to preserve and store the surplus, planning for the lean times they knew would come. Every shared piece of meat, every lesson taught to a younger member, every act of trust was a building block for a stronger future. These weren't just random acts of kindness. They were strategic decisions that dramatically increased the odds of survival for everyone. The groups that mastered this new way of thinking, planning, cooperating, sharing didn't just survive, they thrived. They grew larger, more resilient, and began to expand into new territories where others had failed. This era saw the birth of true leadership. A leader wasn't the strongest or the most aggressive by default. Leadership was earned. It belonged to the one who consistently put the group first, the hunter who shared the best portion of the catch, the elder who knew which plants healed and which harmed, the brave soul who stood between the tribe and a predator. These were leaders of wisdom and courage, whose guidance created stronger, more cohesive communities. Their authority came from the trust they inspired, not the fear they commanded. Tribes that followed such leaders became more adaptable, capable of facing challenges that would have shattered a less organized group. This structure, built on merit and mutual respect, was a powerful advantage. But how do you make sure this crucial knowledge doesn't die with the person who holds it? This is where culture began to play a vital role. Stories told around a crackling fire weren't just entertainment. They were living textbooks, encoding generations of wisdom. A myth about a clever hero outsmarting a great beast might actually be a step-by-step guide to a successful hunt. A ritual dance might commemorate the changing seasons, reminding everyone when to plant or when to migrate. These shared experiences, these stories and songs, became the glue that held the tribe together. They created a shared identity and ensured that vital survival strategies were passed down, becoming more refined with each generation. Knowledge was no longer trapped in a single mind. It became a collective inheritance. This turning point represents the moment we, as a species, stopped just reacting to the world and started consciously shaping it. We began to think ahead, to plan for a future we couldn't yet see, and to work together to influence our own destiny. It wasn't about the sharpness of a stone spear or the heat of a fire. It was about the power of a shared idea. This fundamental shift from individual survival to collective strategy laid the groundwork for everything that followed. The first permanent settlements, complex social structures, and eventually, the rise of civilization itself. The decision to think as one, to share, to plan, and to build something greater than ourselves, that was the true spark that ignited humanity's journey. It was a choice that echoed through the ages, and its legacy is the world we live in today. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into our past as fascinating as I do, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more stories about how we became who we are.